Welcome to another OCD Recovery Instagram Live. I am going to be doing some question and answers on here today because I haven't done any questions on Instagram stories for a week or so. So if there's anything you want to specifically ask, just put that in the comments below and I will cover that now. Now, I'm going to be talking a little bit today on a topic related more broadly to OCD than a specific fear. And I get asked a lot of different topics, which ones I'm going to cover in relation to harm OCD, existential OCD, ROCD, these type of OCD themes. But what I want to cover is a bit about the journey involved in where people often get confused in where to dispute irrational beliefs and where to leave things down to uncertainty. Now, in our OCD journey, when we're very scared, we can want to sort of fight it off, want to get away from it. Now, the problem with that is it tends to lead to us feeling more fused to it. So we don't want to use that as a sort of technique to sort of battle our way apart from it. That's not the attitude. What happens is when we're very fused to it, we need to get under it. We need to accept it and make peace. Now, there's two ways there. First of all, we want to leave it and make peace with it, let it sort of flow along with us as we go along our life structure, our life journey, and we bring it for the ride. However, if it's completely locked and fused and we can't get rid of it, it's just completely gripped on and it's in the back, it's lingering all the time, everything we do, it's there, every experience we do, it's locked on. We need to get under that fear, under that specific fear, which is locked on because of something we're thinking about irrationally, usually, but also in the themes of existential and religious OCD, it can be very much we're not getting very good with the uncertainty of not knowing and leaving it there and not needing to find an answer, but understanding what uncertainty means. It's very hard to just live with uncertainty if we're terrified we're about to die of a disease, for example, from a trigger relating to health OCD, until we've become more accepting of either death or the disease or what's involved in it. But just trying to be uncertain is very, very difficult with that because our mind is going, fucking hell, there is something serious about to happen right now. And so suddenly we're geared up, waiting for that. The alarm's gone off in the brain, the alarm's gone off in the body, waiting for that alarm, the alarm signal ringing for that threat. And until it calms down, until it knows that threat's gone, it keeps sending out that signal. Now, Korzybski, who is often quoted in Albert Ellis's books, had a quote that talked about the nervous system saying, God may forgive our sins, but our nervous system won't. And what he means by that is when we're terrified of, say, often a harm OCD related fear, our nervous system is fired up. It's going on in the background and it's not letting go. It's completely on guard, felt throughout our whole body, through our legs, our arms, our mouth, our neck, our jaw, our heart, everywhere. And that's because we are in that. That's our body. We are in this body with the nervous system being fired up by anxiety. So we have got to, therefore, we can't leave it and just go along. A lot of the times we need to get under that fear. So we're no longer scared. So the alarm has been turned down and then the fear stops coming out and being pumped out by the heart in adrenaline. And the fight or flight response is stopped. And so that then we can sort of learn to relax. And relaxing is a sort of a state, as Claire Weeks, one of the anxiety pioneers, put it. It takes time to adopt the relaxed state. We are so used to being on guard all the time because we have learnt to be in this internal control, this internal fight. This is a learnt response we have learnt over a long period of time. And now it's time to adopt a relaxed, not controlling, a position where we are letting go, a position where we are learning to live with uncertainty, a position where we are learning to face fears and be willing to feel them, a position that internally we've dropped our guard and we are willing to walk towards whatever's uncertain coming and whatever fears are coming and be willing to allow them to pass through us. That position, that feeling is what recovery is about. That willingness. Now, that is something that we've been doing the opposite of, because we've spent our whole life searching for reassurance, things to prevent, to show us, look, you can be safe. And we've been looking for things for control and to be on guard and to protect and to put up this sort of internal force field against anything that we do not like. And what don't we like? Specifically, uncertainty. Specifically, any risk. Not all risks. I work with a lot of times I'm working with the armed forces and the police with OCD. I say, what was your day like? They say, I had to chase somebody where it was a situation where I could have been attacked and killed. I say, how anxious were you about that? They said, I couldn't give a fuck about that, but I was scared about my ROCD that was lingering in the background. So we can be willing and not scared of other threats that can be scary to a lot of people, but then we are locked on our OCD fear. So it's about the specific fear that's firing up the nervous system. That's the one we need to get in on. So it's a combination of 1, learning to get comfortable with uncertainty. 2, changing our relationship with OCD and the thoughts, the intrusive feelings, because let's remember, OCD is not just intrusive thoughts. That is one of the biggest misconceptions about OCD. Oh, it's just intrusive thoughts. No, it's intrusive feelings. It feels real. It feels like there's a threat. It feels like we can't, that it feels absolutely convincing that it's real. That comes in any time. We can just be enjoying ourselves or doing something in any setting, relaxed, completely relaxed, and bang, an intrusive feeling that is different to a thought. It's a feeling, and then we feel absolutely convinced that there's some real danger. So you've got intrusive thoughts, intrusive feelings and emotions, unconditional self-acceptance. By the founder of CBT, Albert Ellis, goes into great detail about that in the main books in my reading list, which is How to Stubbornly Refuse to Make Yourself Miserable About Anything by Dr. Albert Ellis, The Myth of Self-Esteem by Dr. Albert Ellis. 2 books, fantastic for learning to adopt unconditional self-acceptance. And you've got the uncertainty, unconditional acceptance, and what I talk about a lot, bringing it for the ride. Learning to live life with anxiety coming along for the ride. Not better yet, you might not be, but you can still live your life on the way in the direction that you want to live, with whatever feelings, whatever symptoms, whatever locked thoughts that you have in the background, still living life on your terms, how you want to live it, not with OCD in the driving seat. Now, let's have a look at some of the questions that we've got here before I go on too much about all that. I can already tell this is a hot topic, Rylan. Absolutely, this is a major part of OCD recovery, and that's why I wanted to get that covered today. You know, it's all good me talking about our OCD, existential, health OCD, all these topics, but without understanding the mindset needed for OCD recovery and what's involved in that, without understanding that, the other things are more difficult to see how to get in there. So that's why a lot of this YouTube channel, where all these Instagram lives get updated to, is a lot about the OCD recovery mindset. A mindset that's not only for recovery, it's a skills for life in all areas of your life. So it's in relation to your career, in your relationships, your family relationships, the sports you do, anything you're involved in. So it's that mindset that we are using to help us through the OCD recovery journey. A marathon, not a sprint. If you try and sprint a marathon, you burn out. Now, let's have a look here. It's normal to get thoughts that everything around me is not real. Absolutely, Hemo there. This is a sort of a solipsism fear, an existential OCD fear. In solipsism, the idea of sort of a brain in a vat scenario where we imagine everything around us is fake, robots, or some kind of computer game we're lost in, or some kind of alien computer game we're lost in. These kind of fears, those are the kind of things. And it's to do with, what do we value? What are we craving? We want to have connection. We want to have authentic connections with other human beings, because we believe that the whole meaning of our life comes down to those connections. The value of those connections and the enjoyment from partaking in them and living in the moment with them. So, with that one, we're going to be covering that in a separate Instagram live, specifically on that main one in existential OCD, solipsism, and how we can learn to see that it's not the end of the world, even if we didn't have that we want immediately, and learning to distance ourselves with that. I often have anxiety that starts telling me you don't actually have OCD when I know I do and I've been diagnosed with it. The thought makes me feel like I don't have a right to talk about it. That's a very common one that's always trying to get in on. Why? Because it wants to try and get in with, if we go with it's just OCD, that gets us off the hook. So it's always trying to get ourselves back on the hook. So because it's trying to do that, what's the best way? What if it's not OCD? What if it's real? That's always going to be one of its tricks, Pascal. Okay, let's have a little look here. What can you do when you experience OCD for a longer period and you begin to think it can't be OCD anymore because it wasn't just a fleeting moment? Intrusive, all OCD thoughts. Some of them will morph and you'll have a whole range of various ones. I had hundreds during my time with OCD. However, there was long periods where it was locked on individual ones for periods of years where it felt that that one was locked and the others were OCD, so this one is different, this one is real. But that's one of its tricks. It only needs one to grip to, so it will move around, but if it gets a good hook, it will keep in that for a long time until you get better with that one at learning to see that differently and changing your perspective to get under it. Okay, let's have a little look. Any more questions? Is worrying about death common? It's common with every human. You'll very rarely find any human who doesn't give a shit about death at all. Unless you watch my Instagram live with Alfie this week, who's got stage 4 cancer and talking about not being afraid of death. I mean, this is an example of somebody who's got an incredible perspective on life, death. I'm sure he has his concerns for death, but in terms of being petrified, overwhelming, terrified, I don't see that with him because he's very rational in relation to that. It's quite a remarkable perspective for someone of that age to see things with that insight. So it's a good one to watch that. And it's on the YouTube channel with my video with interview talking and discussing with Alfie his OCD recovery journey as well as his current battle with stage 4 cancer. How do you integrate ERP with this? Well, all ERP is exposures, facing fears. What is facing fears? Facing fears is facing life, seeing life for what it is, seeing things aren't scary. So if we look at the notion of CBT, cognitive behavior therapy, what is it? It's formed on the back of Greek and Roman philosophy. What's that? It's learning to see life, reality, from the perspectives that it is and get rid of the illusions, the fake fears, the irrational beliefs. And what's ERP? Exposing, facing those fears. So what's that? Living life and seeing that in reality, fear is an illusion. So it's that basically. We've got these different terms to explain it. In reality, it's all about learning to live life and learning to just see what life is and experience it as it is in reality. What about being hypercritical? Everything your partner does drives you crazy and you think he's stupid and you can't pick apart traits. You can't change your partner. Anna, this is classic ROCD. It's specifically looking for things in your relationship where it can think about if you really hate the way he laughs or stupid jokes or something like that, then your relationship's finished. And what's your fear? Losing your relationship. So it emphasizes those. It can make you feel completely not attached to the person, not in love with the person, not able to stand that thing, make that thing seem 10 times worse. That is one of the common parts of ROCD, relationship OCD. I completely lost faith in recovery. It is possible, and what is your number one rule other than consistency? Well, it's easy to completely lose faith in recovery. Why? Because it's not that easy. If it was that easy, everyone would just do it like that. And when you've been stuck for a long time, you think, well, I've been stuck for a long time. How am I ever going to get better? So it's very, very easy to think it's not possible. Now, if it wasn't possible, I wouldn't have an account here saying OCD recovery. It would say OCD not recovery or rarely possible, but might as well give it a try. That ain't reality. It's something that, yes, consistency and being persistent is key because there's many hurdles and obstacles along the OCD recovery journey. That is completely how it goes. But your position now, your feelings now, how you are, does not determine how you will be for life. But what we do is we take the feelings that we currently feel in any situation, and then we go, that's how I'm going to be forever. And that's not reality, because we don't know where we're going to be in a position of time. Same as square one. Square one's an illusion. We think, can we go back to square one? We can't, because time is changing. We're different every second from the moment that we were before. So square one has gone. It doesn't exist anymore. So I think that's a really important point to have a think about. Is a constant fear of schizophrenia a common theme? I've depersonalization too. It's horrible. Schizophrenia is a very common theme. I'll cover it in great detail in one of the next Instagram lives. It's one of the most popular topics. Depersonalization and derealization obviously go in there very well, same as it does with solipsism, because it's part of the symptoms of anxiety that latch together to form make the fear feel more realistic, with schizophrenia, with solipsism, depersonalization, derealization. Fear of fear as well. A lot of that is driving that. How do you think family members should help when it comes to OCD and reassurance thinking? Do you think tough love is the best approach? I am all for the tough love, but it's got to be tough love with compassion. If you watch my videos for families, it's always about a tough love element, but with compassion. What can you do if you can't stop your reassurance? Well, you might not be able to stop it right now because you haven't had a look at some tools to help you break that down. So once you do, that will be able to help you get under it. So at the moment, you might not have that, but you will be able to get there once you learn some other skills to help with breaking down reassurance. And I will actually cover that again in its own Instagram live, because there's a lot of information that goes into that specific topic that we need to look at, because that's obviously so much of the catalyst that drives the OCD cycle. Let's have a look. What is the best way to deal with magical thinking? I will cover magical thinking in its own topic. Not having a good day with acceptance. If I'm honest, I'm getting bamboozled by the locked on feeling. I continue to expose, but I know time plays a huge role. Jessica, great to have you here on the Instagram live. Yes, being locked on, you've got to wear it like an uncomfortable coat. It might take a little while for you to get under it. That is okay. That's how the journey is. You've done very well in other periods. I know you won't mind me sharing that, because you're someone on here that is often on my Instagram and often talks about the journey and gives so much great wisdom to so many people in the OCD community. It is okay to go through periods where it gets stuck and gets locked on. That's okay. That doesn't detract from all of the journey you have gone so far and all of the things that you've achieved. But what do you need to think at this point in time? You need to think, I'm going to take it one day at a time. I'm going to take it one moment at a time. That is crucial. You can get frustrated further along the journey because you think, I don't want to be bloody stuck again like I was at the beginning. But instead, you need to take a step back. You need to breathe. You need to take it one day at a time, and you need to look at how far you have come on this journey. That is crucial. Gratitude for where you are, what you've learned, and looking at the journey ahead, but not rushing it. And that's okay. And that's okay to be in that position. Okay, let's have a look. People don't take me seriously when I tell them I have Puro. How should I respond? You're not going to have everyone understand OCD because they can't see it like a broken arm. It's not easy for them to understand it. So you can explain it, but you do not need their approval. You can do the best to get them to understand it, but that's as far as it goes. It's your really craving, internally craving their approval that makes you feel stuck and makes you feel really frustrated. So that's what we want to work on. How to get over POCD. POCD I will cover in another Instagram live. How do I stop being anxious over being anxious? I will cover that one too in another Instagram live, because there's a lot to that topic about fear of fear, one of the main driving forces of the OCD cycle, or all anxiety cycles. A lot of fear of fear in there. Would you recommend a relationship anxiety course for someone with ROCD? Well, it depends on who's giving this relationship OCD anxiety course. They've got to really know it. And in my experience, very, very few people do understand OCD and ROCD. So it depends on where you're getting that. I mean, we do an ROCD and all OCD. We cover that in the group coaching and the one-to-one coaching. And that really does get under it. But if you're looking for a course or anything about ROCD, you've got to make sure they really, really, really understand it. Because if they don't, then often you start to feel stuck and lost again, as is the hurdles on the OCD recovery journey too, in terms of getting the right help. When you're recovering, dealing with feeling nervous about how low the anxiety is, absence of anxiety is not an indication of wrongdoing or that it's real. That is irrelevant. Those are just internal bodily sensations that we are attaching meaning to. So that is crucial to that point that you are making there. I think that covers all the questions on here and that topic that I wanted to cover. I will see you guys on the next Instagram Live. Please check this out on YouTube. So if you miss it, you can just go onto YouTube and you can see a lot of the Instagram Lives there, and on the Facebook page in the videos section on Facebook Watch, loads of these Instagram Lives there for you to watch. All right, guys, I'll see you later. Bye.